Just, I mean, just
There
be
we go.
natural. Okay.
I'm gonna.
You're inside the all-new house of Public Discourse Radio.com. The house is an area in social media where individuals can come together to discuss societal issues, and from that discussion influence political action. Welcome to the house,
where our house is your house.
Welcome to the House of Public Discourse Forum and the Progressive Talk Zone. You're with your host, Johnny Hill. I'm joined by singer-songwriter Christopher Witt Diamant, and we're here to talk about the issues tonight. Chris, how's your day going, sir?
Well, today's been more than interesting because I was talking with Shawn, who'll probably be jumping on in a minute here, and it looks like the Republican Party is actually self-destructing right before our eyes.
Yeah, it appears that they're in quite a bit of a disarray. Seems like some judges didn't go follow suit with Mr. Trump, and
No, they did not.
they can't go to the Supreme Court without the lower court approval. I mean,
Well,
uh,
it's not even close to that because what we're running into is the resistance of the Republican regulars, the ones who run these state governments, coming in with these hatchet men from DC, and they want no part. They want no part of it because they're going to still be here when Trump is gone. And Trump's going to be gone on January 20th. So they're not tying their boats to him. Trump doesn't carry much weight in the South, but the people that have been there for 10 or 20 years carry a lot of weight.
yes, they do, and I think they're coming to the realization that Mr. Trump's not going to be there much longer.
Well, his way of dealing with problems is to just tell people to do what he tells them and that everything's going to be fine. But they've seen how that's worked for some of their compatriots and other people in the House state assemblies, and it's plain to them that Trump at this point will sacrifice anybody or anything to get what he wants, and trying to run roughshod over the actual electoral and the elections in, let's say, Georgia or other places is not playing well in Peoria. In other words, these people have got resumes, they've got credibility, they've got integrity. And the Secretary of State in Georgia, especially, says this Rosfenberger, this guy says he's not going to go along with this idea that he should just do whatever is beneficial for Donald Trump. Damn whatever the costs might be politically. He's not into that. He's a realist. Shawn, I see you've made it in. But we're
Hey
talking about,
guys.
we're talking about the Secretary of State down in Georgia, who basically is telling them when they all remember when they all asked him to resign about 3 or 4 days ago, they told him to resign. He says,
Yeah.
"Dream on, dream on. I'm not going anywhere." With the, by him saying that, what he's saying is, "I'm not going anywhere, but you people are. You're going to be gone in a heartbeat, and I'm still going to be, in office." I think the point was well taken.
Shawn, how's it going, brother? How's your week been?
That's going pretty good. Going pretty good. I moved into a new place, but I'm not nice and settled in.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
we talked about this stuff today, though, going in, and then Lindsey Wagner and his little offer for the same Secretary of State, same guy. They're all coming after him, and he wants no part of the DC crowd, no part of it, man, because it's corrupt. And Lindsey Graham is trying to get this guy to break the law, to throw out legally tabulated ballots, by claiming that the signatures aren't identically matched or whatever, BS he's been able to come up with. And that's not only is it not against the law, it's up to the individual counties in Georgia to decide. The Secretary of State has nothing to say about it. So, they're just, once again, hanging themselves out to dry. And the incompetence of Trump's legal team. I mean, Arizona, the entire legal team quit 2 days ago. And then the next day, his entire legal team in Pennsylvania quit. I don't know who's left in Georgia. I think they have Lindsey Graham. That's probably not going to be enough. I don't think so. What do you think, Shawn? You think Lindsey Graham is going to be able to carry Georgia by himself?
he's been doing a great job so far.
He's been doing a great job of shooting himself in the foot and getting caught, and now people are calling for his arrest.
Now, are you talking about Lindsey Graham helping
helping
to fill those 2 Senate seats? Is that what you're talking about?
What he's trying to help do? Well, no. First, Lindsey's trying to get Georgia to be thrown for Trump. In other words, to throw out enough votes, because it's a razor thin margin. They're having a hand recount. He's hoping to get enough votes thrown out so that Biden will actually lose Georgia. That's not going to happen. And he's telling him to throw out legally tabulated votes that they've already tabulated. That's not going to happen because
even if he flips Georgia, I mean, the numbers are still way too far apart. He's still clearly lost.
Well, no, Biden's got a 307 electorals. I think he would go down to 292. I mean, so what? I mean, the thing is this: the 2 Senate seats are what they're really up in an uproar about, because it caught them flat-footed. Johnny, you're the one that told me that these are staggered, so they never have 2 Senate races coming up at the exact same time. It never happens.
That's correct.
Could you fill us in on that?
It's an unusual year in Georgia.
Well, explain it to us, because I don't
have the ABC of why.
Yeah, but you know more than I do. You know more than I do.
This way. All my research found was that this is an unusual year. That normally it's a staggered election, and these 2 seats would not be up for re-election at the same time. But I think a question that we want to pose here, and one of the things we wanted to tie into our conversation tonight, is about the political process in general. We just recently produced a video, essay I wrote many years ago. It's time for New Age independence.
The New Age independence thing. Yeah, we saw that with the absolute necessity of a third and maybe even a 4th party. Some people are saying as many as possible, like they have in Germany with the Greens and other countries. But there's a lot of people, who are advocating and, basically causing a dialogue to happen. There's no dialogue in America. It's a closed book. Without the progressives, I think politics in America would be dead. If it was just the DNC and the GOP, it's a burial ground, for as far as.
I tell you what, let's do, fellas. Let's play a couple of clips that I put together to kind of bring everything into focus, or try to attempt to bring everything in focus. And then when we get back, I'd like to hear your comments when I get done with these 2 clips.
Well, I'm sure
it's time for New Age independence in America. The time is ripe for independence to take back our democracy. And a new third party could make it happen. A video essay from House founder Johnny Hill on the all-new House of Public Discourse Radio.com. Hello, I'm Ramblin' Rose reporter with the all-new House of Public Discourse Radio.com. More and more Americans across the political landscape are calling for a third-party option. This explosion comes after the 2016 election, where voters were purged from the voting rolls. Solid evidence of election fraud, and the presidency going to one Donald Trump, who did not win the popular vote. Pressing forward to 2020, the outcome while being contested, there is a mood that has reached a boiling point. American voters are growing more cynical of the two-party system. Our House virtual team will be breaking down an essay Johnny wrote back in 2017, here in the House Forum.
In the last 163 years, the president has been either a Democrat or a Republican. So how did America end up with this exclusive two-party system? What many fail to realize is that America has not always operated this way. There haven't always been political parties in America. In fact, most of our founding fathers were skeptical of political parties.
There is nothing which I dread so much as a division of the republic into two great parties, each arranged under its leader, and concerting measures in opposition to each other. This, in my humble apprehension, is to be dreaded as the greatest political evil under our Constitution. John Adams.
The alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge, natural to party dissension, which in different ages and countries has perpetrated the most horrid enormities, is itself a frightful despotism. But this leads at length to a more formal and permanent despotism. The disorders and miseries which result gradually incline the minds of men to seek security and repose in the absolute power of an individual, and sooner or later the chief of some prevailing faction, more able or more fortunate than his competitors, turns this disposition to the purposes of his own elevation, on the ruins of public liberty. George Washington.
Ruins of public liberty.
Guys, I think my research and something that we've been looking at for many years here in the House of Public Discourse is the factions that, George Washington was prescient here maybe for his comments.
Prophetic, I would say. You absolutely hit it on the head. The thing is that with a reduction, we have reduction in being able to understand what is happening politically, because all the information is being kept to a minimum. And that is death for politics, which thrives on information and new points of view, especially creative points of view. That's what we need, is some new ideas. In other words, we need people that have input as far as offering us some solutions, like that thing that you were saying, Shawn, when we were talking about this third party, and you were saying it needed someone, that Bernie Sanders himself was the proof that there was already a third party. It's just that it wasn't being allowed to take root. You know what I mean? It wasn't being allowed to actually have any political presence, because the establishment is scared to death of it.
Yeah, I mean, we're already, we've been seeing this now. There are whenever I hear the words Democrats and Republicans, I almost don't know what those words mean anymore, because even if you say, okay, well, I'm a Democrat, there's like 5 different kinds of Democrats. They all want different things.
Yeah.
Same thing with
Johnny, give this guy some volume.
Are you guys having trouble hearing me?
I'm hearing you just fine.
You're a little bit too quiet. Johnny's going to go in, hit your mic, and see.
I think Johnny says he can hear me.
I can hear him just fine. He's fine.
All right.
Go keep
That's
right on
fine
rolling now, Shawn.
Yes.
I can hear him.
So we're kind of seeing this right now, right? It's very fascinating to me with Donald Trump and this whole OAN thing and Trump TV, and how that there are very conservative Republicans who used to 100% trust in Fox News are now turning on Fox News. And there almost appears to be this political civil war within the right. But I mean, that almost kind of goes to show you that there are many different sub-party categories within these two major branches, and I don't know, the whole thing is just a mess. I think the
It
first.
is, Sean. It is a mess, sir. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Oh yeah, go ahead.
it's these factions that we have. These are factions that you're talking about within
Yes.
each group, the Democratic and Republican parties. I would like to play our next clip moving forward. It's kind of a refresher on just how we got here in history wise. You know, we're big history buffs in the House of Public Discourse Forum.
George Washington, in his farewell address, argued that opposing parties would relentlessly seek to sabotage each other at the expense of the American people. Nevertheless, by the time Washington left office in 1797, the country had split into two parties: the Federalist Party and the Democratic Republican Party. In short, the Federalist Party was made up of elitists, while the Democratic Republican Party was the working class party. These parties endured until the mid-1800s, by which time the Federalist had dissolved, and the Democratic Republican Party had split into the modern-day Democratic Party and the new Republican Party, after a short 20 years run as the Whig Party. The new Republicans evolved into just Republicans. By 1854, the U.S. had what we know today as the Democratic and Republican parties. This duopoly has persisted over the last century, and continuing largely because of the country's first past-the-post voting system.
Okay, guys, we're in the present right now. We're still counting votes. Now,
Yeah.
I know it was an extraordinary year. 2020 will go down in history as being that year, you know. So we had some unusual circumstances that created this long and drawn out count. But I don't think anyone can say that this process will is not broken, and that there needs to be some fix. And I would like to get you guys' view on that. Is the will broken? Don't we need to fix it? Am I wrong?
Man, it's brutally hard, right? Because we've gone so far down the rabbit hole. It's like, how can you get out of it? I think it's something like they would need 5% of the vote to be recognized as an official third party. I don't even know how we would even get to 5%.
It's been elusive, Sean. For the Green Party, it's been extremely elusive.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, what's the furthest they've ever gotten? Like maybe 3%? Probably less than that.
I think Jill Stein, maybe Ralph Nader may have outperformed Jill Stein. I'm not sure
Yeah.
which one. Chris left us. I think he'll be back. I want to go into the next clip, Sean, and I want to get your thoughts after it
Okay.
finishes.
Yeah.
Each state
Hold on one second.
has a set number of electorates based on that state's population. This is a winner-take-all system. Whichever candidate gets the majority of votes, no matter the margin, gets all the electorates. There is no reward for second place, and therefore little incentive to create a party that will get some votes, but not the majority. America is just one of a few countries that use this voting system. As a result, other countries see representation from more than just two parties. These other countries use what is known as proportional representation to elect officials, rather than a winner-take-all system. Many Americans, especially after the last two elections, are coming forth arguing that our present two-party system is so corrupted that it has become unjust. Not only because of the corruption, but also, it limits voters' options at the polls, and it breeds an environment that encourages politicians and their establishments to circumvent the will of the American people. We see this happening daily, and why it's time for new age independence in America.
You know, I don't know what the answers are. I just know that
That
something's
sounds
amiss.
pretty good. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. You know, there's something amiss when we're still counting ballots 4 or 5 days after the election. And there's not a day that goes by. I wrote an article several years ago. Liberty has given way to gerrymandering. We've got gerrymandered states. The consequence of losing elections is gerrymandering. And I want to play this next clip, and then after that, we'll get back on track with our conversation.
Hello, I'm Abby Conklin, investigative reporter for the all-new House of Public Discourse Radio.com. Johnny, our research has found that the answer to this question is no. It's not the reason third parties can't take off. The Electoral College is not what's causing America to have a two-party system. The real cause for the two-party system, as we have previously cited, is the first-past-the-post voting system. Winner takes all elections is the culprit.
The Federalist Papers summary and analysis of Essay 10. Madison begins perhaps the most famous of the Federalist Papers by stating that one of the strongest arguments in favor of the Constitution is the fact that it establishes a government capable of controlling the violence and damage caused by factions.
Our forefathers knew full well what factions would do, and we know what these factions are today.
It's partisanship. It's partisanship. Yeah.
It's partisanship.
Yeah. It's a battle. In other words, politics is war, but by civil means. But what happens when it stops being civil? What happens when we start getting Hitler having his mobs go out and threaten people at rallies, and telling them they better not try to vote? What happens when factionalism starts talking, turning more into intimidation and violence? Then all of a sudden it's gone beyond a faction. Now we have a power broker, a group that's trying to seize control. This is what he was afraid of, when people would start to use violence against their fellow citizens. And what happens with this? What they say is that racism's natural culmination is genocide. At some point, people are going to start getting marginalized and then dispensed with, exterminated. And American society doesn't seem to be. 70 million people voted for Donald Trump. Wow. I don't think Hitler got that many proportionately in Germany, do you? I haven't studied it yet. I'm going to have to.
That vote did not surprise me. That did not surprise me.
Well, it terrified me.
It is terrifying.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying. How close it was.
What's terrifying is to see a whole swath of communities that have that mindset in assorted areas across our country, not just in the South.
North Carolina,
all over. I've learned that now that I live up here in Michigan, there's some of these elements up here, even in Michigan, that have this mindset of the white superiority complex that you might, I don't know, for lack of term, but I know what we're getting back to. But prior, when Obama was in office, when I first started the House of Public Discourse Forum, I was doing some research, and there were extreme secessionist groups, people who were screaming for secession from the United States because, we now had a person of color in the White House.
Didn't they try to take over North Dakota? Didn't some guy move up to North Dakota and try to take over a town for Nazis, basically? He put up swastikas and said, we're taking over here. And then he was politely disinvited by, remember, Shawn? This guy took over a whole town up there, and they were making like a little Nazi, and they were disinvited by the town people. They finally said, well, you know what? We decided we don't want to be. I think that was up in North Dakota. They had tried to, basically incorporate them themselves. And they were secessionists. Well. They were secessionists. They wanted to leave America and go off and have their own little Nazi, fool's paradise. And Donald Trump and Steve Miller have been very good at instigating this with the ICE people, the going state to state, basically kind of a Gestapo chasing the Latinos, all over America. Going to the places where they work for the big corporations, arresting them all. None of the CEOs of the corporations get arrested, but the people working for them do. So it's this kind of stacked legislature, which penalizes people who are actually just trying to make a living. They might be immigrants, but they're not criminals.
Well, this whole situation with people, not wanting to concede that Trump
Well,
has been defeated. There's
well,
been
this,
there's been a huge influx of people populating radical right wing propaganda sites,
did you
like
see what
Sean.
happened to? Did you see what happened to the guy that was made the head of Department of Homeland Security? They said that his thing against DACA was invalid because he wasn't legally appointed. So the whole thing against DACA and the Dreamers was thrown out of court by a federal judge who said this guy's not even a legal representative of the U.S. government. This guy wasn't even put into place properly. So all of his court decisions, and this guy was having people arrested and tear gassed the last couple of months. Yeah, that was all completely illegal. The guy was not even hired correctly by the U.S. government to do anything. The Department of Homeland Security, he's been fired. He's been dismissed by the federal court as not being an actual actor. This guy's been running this agency for what, 9 months for Donald Trump? It was
Yes.
completely illegal.
Well,
Completely
well,
illegal.
what my point I would like to make is, and why I think the time is ripe for new age. The time is ripe for new age independence in America. I'm upbeat about it. And next clip, let's move on to our next clip. And then Sean, when this clip gets done, we want to hear from you. Okay?
Hell,
Yeah, I got
no
it.
one is claiming it's going to be easy. Inside government, it's a struggle to find bought and paid for politicians to go against their deep-pocketed donors and try new things that just may be beneficial to all Americans. It has become so frustrating to see the evaporation of transparency from our elected officials. What's even worse, it's become impossible for the everyday citizens' voices to be heard. However, is it not exciting to be on the front lines of a revolution to change the culture of government? But no one person can effect this change alone. Changing the culture of government is larger than any one person. It's time for new age independence in America. Where will it come from? Can we all play a role? The answer is yes and yes. The internet and social media are changing politics. What have we learned already? The political activists on social media have made a difference in bringing political awareness to the casual follower of politics. However, it's time to kick it up a notch. Yes, big money is still the most powerful force in American politics. However, social media is and can be the counter to this travesty on our governance.
Sean, we are the media. What is your thoughts on that, sir?
Uh, what specifically about us being the media?
Yes,
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
me and you and Chris and our friends at Roar Media and all of us political activists on here on Facebook, I think we are the new age media. I think more and more people are coming to Facebook for news, and I would like to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this what you're doing is definitely a grassroots movement, and I think that ties in to the big issue with how the country works. The only way that you can get into a seat of power or have a platform of power is either A, you need to be rich, or B, you need to know someone that is rich and they're going to give you a bunch of money. But then when
Right,
that happens, you're just everyone else's puppet. When you
right.
do it the grassroots movement way, I mean, I'm not sure if anyone's knocking at your door, Johnny, and being like, "Hey, take $1 million. Do you want to lie to a bunch of people?"
Right.
You know,
We're not going to do it. We're not
Yeah,
going to. We're not going to
we're not
fall
going
into
to.
that, sir. No, we're
Yeah, we're
not.
not going
right.
to. No, people have come and gone. Jesse Ventura's people, but the thing is, there has to be a reckoning in the American political life. I think it's here. I think the people's voice has gotten to the point where it can't be shut out anymore. That's what's happened.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Chris.
So, and
Go ahead, Sean.
I'm glad that in a way, like Bernie paved the way. He showed America, like, hey, you know what? You can have a grassroots movement all the way to the presidency.
Yes.
And this is kind of a, could I throw in this this thought that I had from before?
Absolutely, please do.
So the whole thing with the two-party system, right? I realized that if there were a third party that could get to 5%, like it would have to be some a really big name. Like let's say Bernie did it, right? Let's say Bernie said, "Okay, I'm going to run third party. I'm not going to win, but even if we get what 5, 7, 8, 10% of the vote, that means we're established, we're legitimate, we're here to stay." The issue with that is that in order to pull that off, you're going to have to sacrifice 4 years, right? If Bernie was the Green Party and then took 10% of the vote, he might take 8% of it from the Democrats. Democrats lose for 4 years, and that's the price you pay to have a third party in the system. I'm not sure if there's another way of getting around that.
If we should have done that in 2016, then that's when we should have done that. 2016.
Yeah.
In other words, we were going to take the loss with Trump, so we might as well have had Bernie out there step on Hillary Clinton and then say, "I'm going third party. I'll see you later." Now, where we would be right now would be a very different place, but we'd have three parties in America. I think that would have been the thing to do last year. This year, we couldn't take the chance because we had to get our little friend, our little Mussolini, out of the White House. However, next year, and don't forget, 2022, we have a chance to bounce a lot of the senators, 22 of them, as a matter of fact, out of the Senate, all Republicans. So 2022 would be the end of Mitch McConnell if we can take, let's say, we can take 10 seats out of the Senate from the Republicans. They would be over. Mr. Biden would have been in power for 2 years, chafing at the bit. But now all of a sudden we have a Senate majority. What do you think, Johnny? Think that's a possibility? 22 Republican. We have 12 Democratic senators coming up in 2022. 22 Republicans.
I'm very optimistic because
I think you should be. Yeah,
we ran 800 progressives this past year on state, local, and national elections, and 500 of them won.
500, yeah, 500 of them won.
So that's a positive sign. And if you want to go back historically, how through the Southern strategy of the Republican Party, how they've been able to take over the South and turn what was a Democratic region of the country into a Republican. They started at the local. They started at the local and state levels and worked their way up through the governance. Let me shoot a quick clip, and then we'll be right back.
It's impossible to believe that the unprecedented movement away from party membership will not have enormous consequences in elections sooner rather than later. A bombshell news survey, even partisans are tired of the two parties. 53% of Colorado voters believe the two parties are not working together in the state legislature to solve problems facing constituents. 71% blame partisan gridlock on both major parties. An astounding 85% are open to voting for an independent candidate, and 78% believe independent candidates can represent all of the people, not just those from their party. There is no question. Many Americans are unhappy with our political process. People would like to see our government serve us better. Things like rebuilding our infrastructure, solving the problems of the growing inequality, healthcare for all, just to name a few. Of course, topping the list is to remove big money from our political campaigns, corruption, and waste. In short, we the people want our elected officials to listen and respond to the issues that affect our daily lives.
We want politicians to react to the issues that affect our daily lives. And I don't think Americans feel that's happening in the present. Am I wrong in feeling that way, guys?
Yeah, I think
Bernie Sanders.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No,
Go
Bernie,
ahead.
but I think
Go
Bernie
ahead,
Sanders,
Shawn.
Sean. You know,
Yeah, I mean those numbers that you showed us, I think are definitely accurate. I
yeah.
think it's kind of like what Chris was saying before the segment you just played, that uh we, I lost my train of thought.
So no. It's a political reality that the people who have had to deal with this two-party system and could have actually taken the third party with Bernie Sanders, but we
Oh
already
yeah,
have
yeah,
a
yeah.
de facto third party. In other words, Bernie
Yeah,
Sanders
that's what it
proved
was.
the grassroots thing is a definite reality above and beyond Democratic and Republican. The independents, supposedly, along with 91% of the black women in America, are what really gave this vote to Biden, which means the independents are the actual new wave. They are the new age themselves. Is this independent, not tied to either party? And here
Right.
they are. I mean,
That is
Johnny's
what
talking about this new
my
wave.
research has found that to be the case.
Well,
More
it's the
people
independents, though.
more
Larger than
people
either party.
more
Larger
into
than either party.
people right. More people identify themselves. 46% of Americans identify
That's
themselves as independents. That's
that's
larger
that's the
than
third party. That's a third
yeah.
party.
So that's
There
the
it is.
thing, right? So they want to be open to that kind of vote, but yeah, I remember the thought I had before about what Chris was saying, that back in 2016, both the candidates were so unlikable. There was a really big bump in third party voting. But this time, the third party voting was so low because everybody was like, dude, we got to get rid of Trump. And
Right.
so nobody wanted to vote third party because they
Right.
knew it was
No,
gonna,
it was too good.
not
You,
No,
put
no,
the
no.
vote where it needed to be.
Man, we've had conversations on this program in its short history. How torn I was. I was very torn in this
Yeah.
election. I've let it be
Um,
known. I never once hid the fact that I am not a big fan of Joe Biden. But it was more important. It was more
yeah, no,
important to
there you
get
go.
a racist, inciting, dangerous person sitting in the White House with authoritarian followers, just listening to his every word. That was
And
that took
armed,
precedent. That took
armed.
precedent over any personal feelings I might have about Joe Biden.
I
For
mean,
me,
these guys were armed and armed camp, and they're still doing it. The governor in Michigan yesterday said we have to close down Michigan for the next three weeks. Everything's spiking, and Trump and his people are already saying, I believe it was one of Trump's, either the chief of staff or his medical officer were saying, go after her. Let's stop her. Let's liberate Michigan again. Basically putting her in harm's way again with these armed people who threatened to kidnap her like last week or something. And now Trump and his people are going after her again. A domestic terrorism, a policy of domestic terrorism against legally elected officials in America based on Donald Trump doesn't like you, so you should be kidnapped or killed. Wow.
right?
How do we get here? How do we get here? Well, it was yesterday on the radio, TV, they're going, yeah, it looks like he's kind of threatening her life. Do you think? And the guy's walking it back. Oh, I've never advocated violence against anybody. Really? Do you think that Trump's followers are that particular about the particular use of your verbiage and what you actually said, or what they might be able to take out of it? Like, oh, maybe we should finish the job with this Michigan governor. I mean, this is unbelievable that we're dealing with a man who's sitting there in office, who has lost, who says, no, I haven't. I won. He said that today. I mean, he didn't say that yesterday. He said it, well, hold on. Is it? No, it's still 9 o'clock. It's still today. He said, I won the election. No, he didn't. He's insane.
Yeah.
In other words, he's a threat to national security. He should be removed by a posse of federal marshals. Well, Sean, don't you think that they should just kind of come in now and just kind of put him in a little chair and take him and put him in a little ambulance and kind of drive him off to
weird. It's weird because it's obvious that he's lost. I'm sure he knows he lost, unless he really is so delusional he thinks everyone's.
No, he knows he lost. So what is he up? What is he up to? What is he going to try
like
to
what
do
is?
now?
I'm sure I'm sure it's like he's a business guy, right? So he's probably like, let me do this, rile up a bunch of people, and I'll figure out some way of making money off of all of this.
He's asking them to help
absolutely
for his legal team. He's asking for donations for his legal team, which is also just going to pay off his campaign debt. He never did put up that. What was it? $100 million of his own money. Remember that one? I'll put in $100 million, or was it 10 million? Or like $1 million, or was it 10 cents? I can't remember, but it ended up being zero. And, I mean, he put in nothing into his own political campaign. Wow, maybe he figured out he wasn't going to win. That would seem to follow. He knew that it wasn't going to happen. So we're dealing Go on.
He's definitely, at the very least, trying to make himself a player that's not going anywhere anytime soon.
He's playing dog in the manger. Johnny, he's playing dog in the manger. He can't use what's there, but he's going to make sure no one else can.
That's a big thing.
This is scorched earth. GOP.
That's a big thing, right? Even if he never runs for any kind of political power again, and he never gets it, he has such a massive platform. He can just influence legislation by the whim of a tweet.
Yeah,
right. Exactly, Sean.
He's a different. He invented his own game, man. I mean, this has never happened before.
He did do that. He changed politics.
Because the media.
He made himself like an unofficial Republican pope.
Yes,
it's amazing.
But the media,
he's a messiah for these people.
Yeah.
The Messiah. It was saying he's the Messiah, our chosen one from God. But the problem is picking this person was more like getting the Antichrist, kind of a bargain basement Antichrist. If we want to get right down to it, I mean, he's there at the White House selling memorabilia, saying I beat it for COVID. COVID is nothing. Don't let this dominate you, kids. Go out there and don't wear those masks and just
before we break to this last cut, we got to remember something. This is a man that said windmills cause cancer. I mean, seriously. This man is something else.
I forgot that one. Yeah, I tried to forget it. I tried to forget it. That's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah. He's something
you can
else.
bet your bottom dollar that both the political parties' establishments are seeing and feeling this shift. It's getting harder and harder for the mainstream media and others in government to keep their actions clandestine. There is a better way of governance than what we have been subjected to over the last several decades. And more people are becoming aware of it. There needs to become a time in the present, not the future, that our government gets back to being by the people for the people, where we know everything our elected officials know when they know it. It's time for new age independence in America. And we the people can make it happen. We can be, must be, a generation that ends poverty not only in America but across the globe. We must become a generation most determined to fight injustice and wealth inequalities. We must be people who save this planet from climate change. We must embrace the reality that Medicare for all is the right course of action for a myriad of reasons. We must work to corral the ills of racism. Never has there been a time so ripe for real change to occur in America. No, it will not be easy, but nothing worthwhile ever comes easy. America needs a reboot. And the time is ripe for new age independence in America.
Guys, we need new age independence in America.
Well,
And Bernie Sanders, Sean, to mirror what you said, Bernie Sanders gave us a consensus of what the issues are: Medicare for all, the reduction of student debt, free education, stop the dumbing down of America, climate change, the Green New Deal, infrastructure, a federal jobs package guarantee, on and on.
$15 an hour. $15 an hour. Joe Biden said it today. We're going to get $15 an hour.
The only thing I see, fellas, as the progressives' Achilles heel is that we're free thinkers. We're all free thinkers. It's been hard for us to come to a consensus of how we implement these consensus issues. And I think we're striving for that, and we're going to overcome that. That's an issue that we're working to overcome. And I think you guys giving us time here in the House Public Discourse Forum in the Progressive Talk Zone with Johnny Hill is invaluable. People like you who take a minute of their day to say, hey, let's talk about the issues. Let's write about the issues. Let's inform.
Don't forget that staff of yours. You know, Johnny, you've assembled a pretty good staff yourself.
When I say I, I really mean we. You're absolutely right, Chris. The House of Public Discourse is not an I thing; it's a we thing.
You got a pretty good bench there, and Shawn and I know that. I mean, we have our ear to the ground. You know, we pick up everything, but you really need people out there who are going to be the eyes and ears. You know, because intelligence. You know, in a civil society, just depends on the free transmission of the truth of what's really happening, and you know, unfettered by money or, you know, even politics in a sense, to be able to commentate on what's happening, what's changing. This is what you need for a real democracy. Otherwise, what you get is what we have now. You know, a bunch of vested interests and the people that they own and the players on the field. Not much is getting done, you know, with Mitch McConnell and one-party rule. And it's been going on now for a good 10 years. If Mitch McConnell can beat the senators in the field we have, we'll have it for 8 more years. Won't be much of America left by that time. Donald Trump is just a shiny toy. Mitch McConnell is the one that has broken the back of representational democracy in America. That day of reckoning is coming. I know that he lost to Amy McGrath in Kentucky. I mean, her vote totals were going up, and then all of a sudden they just stopped counting them. Remember, Shawn? I told you. Her vote totals were going up. She was ahead. She was ahead of McConnell. The minute she went past McConnell, all of a sudden her vote stopped tabulating, and his kept going. And we kind of said, "Hey, what happened to McGrath? No one's voting anymore. All her votes just stopped." You know, talk about doing a recount. You know, Lindsey Graham had a 16% favorability rating in his state. How did he win? We're looking at the wrong place. Recount in Georgia. We got to be doing a recount in Kentucky, you know, Carolina, you know. Lindsey Graham, how did he ever win?
One day I'm going to have to go visit Kentucky.
Well, you better bring, you know, state police.
Here's my thing, right? I remember, you know, the last 2 times when Bernie ran, right? And it was interesting because I was living in the Philadelphia area, and I would just talk to regular people, you know, and I would just ask them, like, you know, don't you want free health care? Don't you want your kids to go to college for free? And it was interesting because there were 2 answers I was primarily getting back from a lot of people, which was, one, you know, how are you going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for it? Which has already, you know, been debunked. We know how the taxes would get split and how much money we'd save in the long run. Then the other aspect of it too is also electability. The Democratic media elites always talked about electability and that he's not electable. That's why I just want to say, like, thank you, Johnny Hill, for individuals like you. I got mad love for you guys. I hope you guys keep doing what you're doing, because you guys are the
Well,
ones that are
we're not gonna
sending the
stop
message.
us.
You know what? These guys are electable. You guys have been duped. Wake up.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So the thing is, that's where their bread is buttered, though. They saying about this, and Joe Biden himself said it perfectly. He goes, people, don't really want a revolution. They just want, calmness and serenity and sanity. And so with those words, he basically killed the whole idea of changing the government for the people. It was like, oh, revolution, ooh, that's too scary. We need someone like Joe Biden. Like, after the methamphetamine of Donald Trump, now we're going to have Sominex. We're going to get some rest. I mean, is that really an improvement? Well, for people that have been, living with an orangutan in the next room, getting a small mouse or a monkey sounds like a pretty good deal. It's like, oh, wow, I'll be able to get some rest. That's what America's been through, and the image of the beast, the image of Donald Trump is everywhere. It's everywhere. That face is everywhere. His voice is everywhere. Okay. We've never gone through a trauma like this. Hitler had it. Everyone had a TV and a free radio, but they were to listen to the Fuhrer. What have we got with Fox and the rest of this? We've had an echo chamber for 4 years. I mean, most of us have become, kind of marginalized, alcoholics or, perhaps, purveyors of strange foreign, dramas just to avoid the American political process. And it's been, a lot of casualties. A lot of people haven't been able to hang in this bitter partisanship and, no holds barred, scorched earth, the enemy, basically, and murder. There's been killings. There's been some deaths. Black Lives Matter, unarmed black men are still getting shot in the back. I'll bet three black men got shot in the back today in somewhere in America. I'll bet you. I mean, I wouldn't have to look too hard.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Chris. There are people getting shot every day that you never hear about.
What's changed? I mean, that is what's got to change. That's where the grassroots come in. And Shawn, what you've seen, I mean, you were in Philadelphia. You saw the scene down there. The people couldn't even believe in their own liberation.
It is amazing now because, I mean, I'm
now,
sure we all know that
now it's a little better, but still.
Well, these issues have always been going on, but it's only been very recent. I would imagine within Trump's administration, where the media really hyper focused on police brutality.
The last 5 years, and white supremacists, as the FBI has been harping on, saying the greatest threat to America's national security, white supremacy. The FBI, not a bunch of kids on a playground. They're giving out reports now, declassifying them, saying Trump wouldn't allow us to publish this. Trump wouldn't allow us to tell people about white supremacy. Trump wouldn't. Well, now he's going away. Maybe we should do something.
Now it's like ratings
maybe
gold.
We should do something about these white supremacists, like next month. Like, why don't we reclassify them, get them investigated, and maybe start figuring out if they should really have rocket launchers and explosives and people that are kind of like deranged, planning kidnapping governors of Michigan and you know what I mean? Maybe it's time to take a look at it, Johnny. Do you think? Since they've committed every crime in the last 5 years has been white supremacists? I mean, every single one. I mean, it's not like there's not evidence.
Well, the Southern Poverty Law Center has documented these actions. I put a little something on the share screen, guys. An article I wrote from my house blog, the original blog from the blogspot.com. We can fix America's corrupt political system. I'm an optimist about that. Just about any person you talk to today feels that our government is corrupt. That's right. The most powerful nation on earth is eat up with corruption. More and more Americans feel our democracy is completely broken. If you have half a brain, it's obvious why. Lobbyists write our laws. Politicians are bought and paid for.
Well, Citizens United, it's when Scalia, he legalized graft. Graft is the buying and selling of politicians and political influence. It's called graft. So Scalia, our little judge in the Supreme Court said, I've got a solution to graft. I'm going to legalize it. And we'll call it Citizens United. And now you can buy and sell anybody or anything that you want. Money is speech, corporations are people, and go out and have a good time. So that means the person with the most money has the loudest voice, and that's the end of representational, democracy. That's what's got to go. Bribery, as far as the lobbyists, that's legalized. That's legalized bribery for lobbying. But now with graft, the buying and selling of political power and influence and politicians, that is the end of America. Citizens United was the legalization of graft, G-R-A-F-T, in case people can't hear me enunciate correctly. I apologize. It's called graft. Okay. When it was legalized with Judge Scalia, that was the beginning of the end of America. However, we can reverse that. We can flip that, but it's going to take everybody to get.
That's right, Chris. That's right, Chris. What is sad is that huge segments of people in America have disenfranchised themselves from the political process.
That's why.
I know they're thinking there's nothing that can be done about it, and that's goes to what Shawn was talking about. We want to change that, we want to change that. This thinking is one of the biggest cancers, guys, we have on our American democracy today. When you put this corruption under the microscope, it's not the politicians that are breaking the laws. In fact, there are no laws in place for them to break. There are some exceptions, but not
Bernie
many.
Sanders said it. He said it. We have to get rid of Citizens United. Chuck Schumer used to say it every time. Adam Schiff used to say it every single time. Citizens United, sign the petition, everything else. We've been talking about it, but we're going to have to do something about Citizens United.
What's your thoughts on that, Shawn?
The fact that they gutted the voting rights laws and gave it back to the states, and now the KKK run, Alabama. The KKK run Louisiana. The KKK are still hanging on there in New Mexico. It's them. It's them because they gutted the Voting Rights Act, gave it back to the states, and what do we got? We got Jim Crow on steroids. Right. We got the guy in Georgia who locked up all the polling machines in 2016 and locked them in a warehouse so no one could vote. He's the governor now. He's the governor.
What's your thoughts, Shawn?
He's a crook.
Let's hear from Shawn.
Go on, Shawn.
Your mic's muted, Shawn.
Yeah, hit it. Hit the button, Shawn. Your mic.
That's okay. He'll come back.
Yeah, here he's going.
His mic is muted. That's okay.
Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, there you go, brother. We didn't mean to box you out of there, man. I want to hear what you got to say, bro.
No, I mean, I completely agree. It is all about getting money out of politics. That's what you have to do. How do you prevent someone like Amazon giving an unlimited amount of money to whatever candidate they want to? How do you get the cap to end at maybe $5,000, right? If Amazon gave me $5,000, I don't think I'd really care all that much about what Amazon wants.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's sanity at some point has to come back into the political process. That's impossible where dark money can come in. How did Mitch McConnell get reelected to the Senate?
It's literally going to be fighting tooth and nail for every single seat. Every single one.
Yep. It's unavoidable. It's unavoidable. It's going to have to be, we're going to have to primary them all. We got 500 progressives, state, local level last time. It's going up each time. First it was 200, we got 300, now we got 500. We're going to have to go in there, trench warfare, and take them out one by one. And we can do it. Why? Because all the centrists lost this last go round, and all the progressives won. And we were told exactly the opposite. The progressives can't win. You need centrists. It was exactly wrong. It was exactly wrong.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
They looked at Biden and they were going, we need a centrist. No, Wall Street wanted a centrist because it didn't want anything to change. And Biden promised, don't worry, nothing will change. Okay, it's going to change, though. It has to change because of COVID and the fact that we are facing a 1930s depression once again, and worse than that. So something's going to change. Something's got to give. Something's going to break. And the American people are at the breaking point. So unless they want massive civil unrest and what they have never heard of in America, general strikes of people refusing to work, which is where we're going to go. And that'll be the end of the resistance. Once the people won't work, take a look at France. They've won every single argument. General strike, end of over. The government can't do a damn thing if people.
Well, we were kind of talking about like Angela Merkel from Germany, prime minister, being like a scientist, and just imagining like a scientist president here in America. I can't even fathom it.
I can't either. It's amazing some of the things you bring up, Shawn. I can't imagine what the rabid radical right, who abortionists and the anti-abortion crowd would how they would handle a scientist in the White House.
Yeah. It just blows me away that it's like what 90% lawyers, maybe 10% businessmen. Like that's literally the entire genetic makeup of our democracy.
Right. Shawn, to move on with my point, Chris left us. I think he'll be back shortly.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Some may say that, getting rid of the corruption in America is pie in the sky thinking, and is it practical? And Shawn, my response, and the House Public Discourse claims, is quite simple. Was it pie in the sky for a band of 13 colonies with no standing army to win a war against the strongest military of its time? Was it thought practical that slavery would be abolished at one point in this time in our country?
Yeah.
Or women and blacks would be allowed to vote? Was it unpragmatic to think that same-sex marriage would be a reality in American society? How many people said there would never be a person of color in the White House? So I don't think changing the culture of government is pie in the sky. Do you?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I try to look at the numbers as realistically as I can. You have 100 Senate seats. Right. And then so that means, pretty much all of those seats, they're all backed up by corporate money. If you could get 51 grassroots movement candidates in all of the states to run and they all won, then you could create some real change. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I am saying we got our work cut out for us.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
No one said it's going to be easy, Mr. Shawn. No one said it was going to be easy.
I think we've got the people, though, that are engaged enough to actually want to enter the political process. Because there's an old saying, you can't have a fight with a skunk without coming out smelling like one. So if you want to get involved in politics, you're going to have to face some rather unpleasant and rather, I would have to say, some pretty bad conditions to make the change happen. But that's the only way to do it. You're going to have to get your hands dirty. There's going to be, there's going to be some face-offs. There's going to be some face-downs. There's going to be some casualties. But that's what it's going to take, because they're willing to step up, and they keep saying that we'll die or we'll take our arms to the streets or whatever else. We have a different philosophy, is that we will die for peace, but we will not kill for it. Theirs is exactly the opposite. Like that guy Kyle who was out there in Kenosha, shooting people in the back, and they're calling him a patriot. But he's not. He's just a murderer. He's a child soldier that was brainwashed. This is what we're going to have to face to bring about the revolution that Bernie Sanders was talking about, the progressive revolution that you've been talking about, Johnny, this new age thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to happen because we need an alternative to the corruption we have here. Money in politics, though, is the death knell of representational democracy. And Chris Hedges and everyone else has said this. We kind of gave it away to the rich. We kind of said, well, this is too much for us to deal with. Rich people seem to know what to do, so we'll let the rich people take care of the government, and we'll treat it like a business, and then it'll be fine. Yeah. And we got Donald Trump. Is everything fine? Oh, no, no. So government is not a business. Government is something different than a business. Government is a service that actually is to protect the people from the corporations, from big business. Right. That's the idea, that the government was going to be the advocate for the people. But it's not. It's the advocate for big business. That's called fascism. Okay?
Right.
With the police.
Exactly.
In other words, capitalism plus murder equals fascism. That's an old definition.
Well, Chris, that brings me. I want to bring up something. Diana Buettner. She is the longest running member in the House of Public Discourse Forum. She was the very first member of our house. And I put together a little Voices from the House segment, something that she had posted the other day, and I'd like to read it and get your guys' thoughts on it. Okay, so here are some morning thoughts for those who think this election is a wrap on either side of the aisle. Legally, probably. However, in the case, no one has noticed the blatant disregard and lack of consequences from our elected criminals. Here's your sign. I get my news from a variety of sources. This is not about me saying your choices are incorrect. It's a warning of what, in my view, is a real live threat to our ever having a democracy. While the courts are not siding with the current administration, Trump has now removed 4 high-level officials in the Pentagon. What is, in my view, most likely should rock you to your core unless you are all in on fascism. I believe election officials still counting may be threatened and forced to change results. If that doesn't happen, it makes another scenario more likely to be the go-to. If you wish to know more about the scenario, you can go to the following podcast and listen carefully. It was one on TNT. I stated a long time ago that the establishment or corporate Dems likely wanted Trump to win because he is a fabulous scapegoat. Just so we are clear, the podcast does not go as far as I do in their belief about this happening. I pray that I am wrong about this. However, I have been warning for over a decade that this was coming. It is my belief, and it is my civic duty to tell my friends what might happen. We need to be prepared if that is even possible. And
thankfully, it wasn't, because there was such an overwhelming margin with the 5 million votes. We had that 5 million votes, and that made Trump moot. If it had only been a million or 100,000, we'd be in trouble.
And thankfully, the lower courts, like we stated earlier, Mr. Chris, the lower courts have not gone along with it, at all. No, they're not buying it.
Because we have a 5 million person, Shawn. 5 million more in the popular vote. That's going to carry some weight. People are going to say, well, hold it. This guy, Trump, he doesn't have a chance. That's math. That's math.
A lot. Literally all of the accusations made no sense. I wish I had the laundry list here with me. I just remember a couple
cases
of them that
were thrown out of court. His Arizona team, his Arizona lawyers quit. Then the next day, the people in Pennsylvania quit. Who's Trump going to get now? He's going to go down to the local playground and start pulling children off, out of the swings to send in. There's nobody left. No one's going to represent these people. They're bankrupt intellectually. So what we're going to face right now for the next months is, unfortunately, like him selling the leases of the pristine Alaskan wildlife refuges to oil and gas companies for a couple $1 billion kickback. I'm sure Trump's got it on Craigslist by now. You want to buy Alaska cheap? Give me a call. I've got a Swiss bank account. We're good to go. I mean, what is Trump going to do? He should be getting tailed, shadowed by the FBI and wiretapped day and night so he doesn't sell, Putin or somebody the location of all our hidden submarine bases because he needs a couple $100 million to pay off the Russian mafia. I mean, this is what we're looking at.
I think that's what the Secret Service are for.
No, they're not. They're in charge of the U.S. currency. They don't give a good goddamn. They don't give a good goddamn who's running the show. The FBI do care. Where are they? We better get this guy under wraps before he sells something which gets us all killed. Like the nuclear codes for I don't know, those space-driven neutron bombs that can bomb cities and leave the real estate there and just kill the people. Weapons like that. I don't want those in the hands of Donald Trump to sell to his buddies in Saudi Arabia or UAE or whoever's got the money. You know what I mean? I really don't want that technology for sale.
Can I, Johnny, I don't know if we have enough time. If I could talk briefly about how this Secret Service works.
Please do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because this kind of thing bugged me, right? Because I was thinking in my head, what if Trump refuses to leave the White House? How would that be dealt with? So I looked into it, and the Secret Service is run by the Department of Homeland Security, and they have their own. The Secret Service have their own boss, like a director, and he controls all of them. Right, so he is the only one that is allowed to override any commands that the president gives, whether this is a current president or an ex-president. So there is a balance of checks and order here, right? So let's say, for example, like what Chris is saying, let's say, for example, Trump goes crazy one day. And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to call Putin at 3 a.m. and tell him a bunch of stuff America's doing." Right. Well, the Secret Service, because they are ordered to protect him, but they're not ordered to allow him to commit any felony he pleases. He would get arrested.
So they could stop him. So there is a line. There is a line that he can't cross.
That's right.
Well, I hope to God you're right. I hope to God you're right. Yeah, because if he's corrupted the Secret Service, then things, all could be lost because if those guys decide to back Trump up, we would have a problem. But I do believe that they are against his influence because Secret Service people were saying that he was getting them killed. 130 of them now are infected because he wouldn't let them wear masks. So I don't think there's any love lost between the Secret Service and Donald Trump, especially when 130 of them, some of who could die, got that because he didn't want people wearing masks because he's a psychopath and, thinks that people who suffer and die, that's cute. This guy's out to lunch. The cheese has slid all the way off the cracker. So people are starting to figure out he doesn't care if I live or die. Wow. I better watch this guy. He's going to get me killed. Yeah. Wow. He's going to get me killed. So I think that might stop a lot of these Secret Service people from signing on the dotted line when it comes to Donald Trump.
Well, guys,
I could be wrong.
We're getting close to about that time to shut this thing down. And I want to thank both of you coming on here.
Well, there's always tomorrow, the next day.
We've got a little bit more time, and I want to say a couple of things about Donald Trump and what happens to him after he gets out of the election. You know, I think there's a lot of cynicism about rich people going to jail these days. You know, he's got too much money. He'll find a way to get out of jail. But I'm telling you, the New York State, when he first back earlier this year, we did some serious research. He is in a lot of trouble with his taxes in the state of New York. That's why his
He's
ass
going to
bolted out of
Danbury
there.
Federal Penitentiary. He'll be going to Danbury Federal Penitentiary.
He can say what he wants to. He got the shit out of New York because his ass is in a sling in that state.
He is toast. He is toast in New York. Michael Cohen went to jail for obeying the orders of Donald Trump. He did 3 years for the crime of listening to Donald Trump, which means no more unindicted co-conspirator. On the 21st, Donald Trump could be indicted. They could pick him up and take him to be arrested because he has to do his time. Michael Cohen did the time for the same charges. Now it would be Donald's turn to do 3 years. Legally, he doesn't have a leg to stand on. He could appeal it once or twice, but basically, you know, he's an unindicted felon. He's a felon already on the 21st. Automatic felon.
And I think that's the perfect place to end this broadcast. We want to thank you all for coming.
Fantastic.
For coming in and checking out and with us here in the House of Public Discourse Forum. We thank you, Shawn and Christopher. And
thank you, Johnny. Thank you very much.
It's been a bunch of fun, man. It's been a bunch of fun. And
we'll be back.
We'll catch you on the flip.
We'll catch you then.
Till next time.
Signing off.